Now, there are two final principles that we can merge into one to help us have a solid understanding of muscle fibers, and that is what we call the size and recruitment principle. So let's imagine that we've taken a sample of muscle tissue from the gastrocnemius. We'd find, of course, both type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers within it. And for the purpose of the images that we'll take a look at in just a moment, we'll utilize the blue unfilled circles to represent type 1 muscle fibers, and we'll use the blue filled circles to represent type 2 muscle fibers. Now, as it pertains to the size principle, our first rule is that smaller motor units are recruited first, indicating that any time we perform an activity, our smallest muscle fibers and or motor units are the first to respond to the stimulus. Our second rule is that larger muscle fibers and or units are recruited last. So taking a look at our chart here on the right is a progression in the recruitment of muscle fibers as it relates to performing a given task. And towards the bottom of this progression, where the X and Y axes meet, we can see that our type 1 muscle fibers are the first to respond to a muscle contraction. Notice too the amount of force associated with their activation. At this particular point, we see a 15 rep max or greater. And all this means for us is that this is a relatively light amount of weight. But as the load or force increases, let's say to a moderate weight at between an 8 to 12 rep max, those type 2 muscle fibers are now being recruited. And we can safely say here that these would be the type 2A muscle fibers that are recruited first. And as the weight continues to increase, let's say to a 1 to 6 rep max, we'll then begin to recruit type 2B muscle fibers. So here's how we can summarize the recruitment principle. The lesser the force required, the fewer the number of motor units are recruited to perform the activity. Well, thank you for watching this video. I hope it's been helpful, and I'll look forward to connecting with you in the next one.